Stop the cap.
Pardon my voice. This is just what's going on. I don't know what the deal is. But anyway, I got a phone call a couple days ago from a prominent YouTuber in the millions of subs. We correspond. And they were asking me about Amazing Lucas. They were asking me about like his recent content and just the whole vibe of his channel. And I basically told him, I was like, I kind of chilled out on watching Amazing Lucas because basically, and they agreed with me, that Lucas comes off as like, first off, he comes off as arrogant and narcissistic. I'll just say that in terms of his personality. He doesn't like to be wrong, doesn't like to be proven wrong, and will do any and everything to not be proven wrong. I mean, he won't even concede to the slightest point. If you watch his lives, if you watch his what does he call his damn lives, his disagreement days and shit like that, he gets into a lot of like berating people, and it just gets annoying because it's like he just doesn't stick to the point. You can tell like his ego is really stuck in a lot of his conversations. So personally, I have kind of fallen back from watching Amazing Lucas. But it seems like Lucas is, and then again, this kind of rolls into the narcissism and all that. He's contrarian just to be contrarian. Like you can kind of predict where Lucas is going to go. Like if most people move in one direction, Lucas will move in the opposite direction. And even myself, I have to, challenge myself on that, because I've wondered, if I've done that, myself, where I'll look at the situation and I'm like, okay, like I'll challenge, if everybody's moving in one direction, I'll challenge why everybody's moving in that one direction. But it'll take some time before I actually speak on it. I'm not going to speak on it immediately. I'll kind of like look at the landscape, look at like the areas where people are missing shit. And then I'll, challenge them, on that. Right. As you all know, religion is one of those areas, right? Especially as it pertains to black people and Christianity and all that, I challenge that. Most black people are Christian. 85% of the black community, doesn't agree with me about Christianity, and most certainly doesn't agree with me about religion. They feel that they need a higher power and need a sky daddy and all that other stuff in order to navigate and move through life. And I'm just like, I just think there's too many pitfalls in it. I think it just keeps us not focused on reality, the situation on the ground. We need to be on the ground playing wizard chess and not sitting around talking about, some higher moral plateau level of consciousness, because bullets don't give a fuck about that. But that's just me. Right. So I, actively try to check myself in terms of, being contrarian for the sake of being contrarian. It is on my mind, when I'm, deciding to put out content and whatnot. But Lucas comes off as contrarian for the sake of being contrarian. You can pretty much predict he's just going to go in the opposite direction of where people are going. The weird thing about Lucas is, and he is starting to look like a shill. I'm just saying, what it is. That's what he's starting to look like. Where he kind of like, broke ranks with the conservatives. He talked about, from his own admission, that he was in the sunken place when he was over there with the GOP. I didn't think that he was necessarily, I can see where he's using the terminology, but I'm saying, I never understood the whole not liking, okay, how do I want to put this? You're rejecting the Democrats because Democrats, are playing all these sort of games and shit. I'm with that, right? And most black people, from a cultural standpoint, contrary to popular belief, are conservative. Black community has never, especially with all their Christian roots, has never supported LGBTQ and all this goofy shit. And then you throw in feminism on top of that, and then this marriage between feminism and the LGBTQ community, and then, that just exacerbates all the, economic problems in the black community, black men and women not getting together, and it's just a whole hot mess, right? And so, those two things combined, feminism, LGBTQ, it doesn't align with the way that black people have essentially been traditionally oriented, which some people will argue, oh, that's Eurocentric, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we get that. But I'm saying you go back to the turn of the century, of the 20th century, and black families were more intact. People stayed together longer. We all know the older black couples that they've been together longer as they've been together longer than each one of them have been alive as single people. My grandparents were one of those people. Okay. So, when people seem to try to talk so badly about black people in the 19 teens, 1920s, these black people that were like the first generation, would they be the first generation out of slavery? No, they would probably be the second generation out of slavery. Their parents, their grandparents were slaves, something like that, right? And I'm saying the things that they built, the things that they put together, fighting the First World War, rolling into the Second World War, which would be, different. That would be the silent generation. But I'm saying, black people, generally speaking, are conservative type of people, right? Most black people, we come from the Bible Belt, right? That whole from, what is that? Texas, rolling all the way, through, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, freaking rolling up, through, Florida, Georgia, right into Virginia, right? It's like if you ever seen the Black Belt, it's like just the southeastern part of the United States. And it kind of like, goes from Virginia all the way down to Texas, right? And that's how most black people, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, that's how black people operate. We ain't never been on some, progressive, ultra woke shit. What black people were progressive about were their economic opportunities, fighting against discrimination, racial discrimination, which obviously had a direct impact on economic opportunities. That's what black people were focused on. All this other goofy shit, all this, bringing in all these other groups that get to piggyback off of the black experience and try to get their piece of the pie, but haven't gone through what African Americans went through. That's a bunch of goofy shit that, thanks to these black feminists, they brought that shit into the fucking space, and it's a problem, and I will always charge black women, with that betrayal. I'm like, the fuck are you doing? Bringing all this shit into the room. Now we got to delineate. We got to separate. We got to, basically be assholes to everybody else. Not that we particularly, want to, but many of these other groups come in here and they undermine us and whatnot. So everything just got real messy because of all these, instead of saying focused on, black, civil rights and black empowerment and economic opportunities, the feminism had us deviate. And if you ask me, that was the plan. That was the psyop, bust up the civil rights movement, cause division between black men and black women, and then run off in that direction. And that's largely been, a woman thing. There's been no movement of men trying to distance themselves and run away, from the black woman. It's the black woman, with feminism, the bad attitudes. We can do whatever the fuck we want. And they've messed themselves up so much that nobody wants to deal with them. And then they say, oh, no, it's because of the self-hatred of the black man. It's like, no, y'all had whole fucking movements and went off on the goofy direction. But anyway, I'm just trying to paint the picture of like how I see American history and whatnot. But, I never understood the conservatives that just because you have a problem with Democrats, right, and what they've not done and the benign neglect and all that other stuff, right, all this like elevating Republicans that haven't done anything for black people. I never understood that. I never understood the bootlicking. I never understood the adopting the white conservative talking points. You know what I mean? My hard work, my bootstrap, personal responsibility. I never understood that shit. Because, again, all that is basically we don't want the solutions that you're looking for to cost us. So we're going to victim blame, and we're going to make it about, what small thing you didn't do, which is the reason why all of this didn't happen for you. It's not because we set up a system, to benefit us. No. It has nothing to do with that. It's not because we put policies in place to exclusively benefit us, at your expense. No. It's because, you forgot to return your library card, personal responsibility, and that's why you're not gainfully employed. Some shit like that. That's what white people do. But when it comes to Lucas and his stance, like, it just seems like, okay, he started off with you black people, you need to get off the plantation. You need to get off of the Democrats. Okay, well, that's what black people are currently doing with this not supporting Kamala Harris. That's what they're doing. And so Lucas, I don't know. He left the conservatives after the Ahmaud Arbery, situation, which I agree with Candace Owens and her nasty vitriol and throwing Ahmaud Arbery under the bus. And Lucas was like, yo, this is too much. Same thing with Brandon Tatum, and all the, the George Floyd, he deserved it. Just all that shit. I do genuinely think that was too much for Lucas to bear. You know what I mean? And then especially, and I've talked to other, black, conservatives in this, in the online space. And, I've reached out to a couple of them, and I have said to them, I'm like, in the comment sections, I used to do this on Lucas's channel. I used to leave comments like, yo, bro, the only reason these white people co-sign you is because you espouse their talking points. The minute that you deviate from their talking points, the minute that you raise an eyebrow out something that you see that's blatantly racist, and Lucas spent quite a bit of time, challenging that. It's like, why is it, when it was, I'm trying to come up with an example, it was always, you need to comply. You need to comply. Why aren't he complying? That's why black men are getting shot. They're not complying. As soon as you get to Ashley Babbitt and her storming the Capitol and her trying to jump through the window with the guy with the black, freaking Capitol, whatever he was. What was it? What is it? Not the national. What the heck are they called? The Secret Service dude. And, he shoots her in the neck with the Glock 22. Then all of a sudden the white people, it was, he's a traitor. This is treason. He should be hung from his entrails. Like that. Like, what happened to all that? You need to comply talk. All that shit went out the door. And I do believe that, Lucas couldn't take, that sort of hypocrisy. It's like, yo, the only difference between this situation and another situation is the race changed. Both of these people are not complying, but you only got hatred and vitriol for the black person not complying. But when the white person doesn't comply, it's the tree of liberty must be refreshed with the blood of patriots and tyrants. Give me liberty or give me death. You know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden, it's all this 1776 will be upon you, right? So when white people don't comply, it's a revolution. When black people don't comply, we're just out of order, and it's just, so I think all of that played into Lucas, walking away, from the right. But now, you know what I mean? Everything he's putting out is, you got to vote for Kamala, got to go for Kamala. I don't know. I feel like there's some vendetta. He doesn't want the Trump people to win because I guess the Trump people will come back to him and be like, yeah, Lucas, you changed sides and you lost. I don't know what's going on with Lucas, but there's very real valid reasons why black people, are not supporting not only the Democratic Party, but not supporting Kamala Harris. First of all, Kamala Harris is not a black woman. Why is she cosplaying as a black woman? Candace Owens did a brilliant piece laying out how she's not a black woman. Why don't you just run as an Indian woman and say, hey, I'm an Indian woman, that's what I'm running. She trying to play on all this AKA bullshit. Nah. And again, the conversation is not about supporting Donald Trump because as though Donald Trump has any policies for black people. He doesn't. But again, going back to what Stephen A. Smith said years ago, it's we need one election to where black people demonstrate to the Democrats that you do not have our vote in your back pocket. It's not guaranteed. Votes are in exchange for something. Everybody else, we sat around, right? We're the ones that got Obama in Obama wants to focus on the LGBT community. We're the ones that got Joe Biden in, and all we get is anti Asian hate crime bills when black people are literally at the chart of at the top of the chart of the victims of hate crimes on the FBI statistics. You can go over there right now. FBI statistics, black people consistently every year are at the top of the charts of victims of hate crime, while we only make up 13% of the fucking population. Okay? So, listening to Lucas and the way that he rips on people, like, he's not even, that's another thing that I don't like about Lucas, recently. Like, Lucas, it's the way that he talks to black people. Everybody's an idiot. Everybody's dumb. He's the smartest person in the room, right? He's talking at black people. These ignorants. He's insulting people. He's not breaking shit down like, I understand where you're coming from, right? And I'm not saying that you don't have black people that literally have no reason. Seriously speaking, there are black people that shouldn't be voting, just like there's white folks that shouldn't be voting because they're not informed on any of the issues. They just kind of suck their finger, stick it in the air and say, I think I'm going to go this way. But they have no real reason why they're voting. I mean, this goes into Socrates and what he said about democracy and why representative democracies and having experts and people who are knowledgeable about the issues is better to have them vote for the collective of the people than have the individual people vote, because individual people are simple-minded and emotional and don't suffer from all the flaws of being a basic person. Most people are fucking basic. That's just what it is. But I don't know what's going on with Lucas, but it seems like he's just being contrarian just to be contrarian. And I don't know whether somebody's paying him. His subs went up. He went from 400 and he was stuck at 409 forever. Every time I went back to his channel, it was 409, 409. You know what I mean? Because he lost a bunch of people when him and I forget what they were arguing, but it was between him and Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate gained, an astronomical amount of subs, doubled his numbers, because he was tap dancing for white folks. He was, telling white folks all the shit they want to hear. White people will throw, you want to make a lot of money? Just be a coon. Just go on YouTube, make an account and be a coon and, basically absolve white people of all white guilt and tell them how awesome they are. And, they'll throw money at you. They'll make you famous. Okay, because, they think it's more effective to have a black person, say some coon shit and coon out like the Jesse Lee Petersons and whatnot than to have another white person say it who could potentially be accused of being racist. So that's how they play the game. Doesn't really benefit you to try to, get black people in one accord, because black people don't pay. Black people do not, financially and economically support the people that they want to advocate for them. It's just a reality. And is that a pathology on the part of black people, or is it just the fact that black people are disproportionately poor and don't have the resources? They can't go out there and buy 5 of your $39.99 t-shirts from your merch store. You know what I'm saying? And your $24 freaking mugs that say, freaking, some pandering statement towards the Democrats. That's just the reality. That's the whole problem with politics, for black people is, we don't have businesses. Therefore, we don't have the economic capital, where businesses are the ones that really fund and pay for the campaigns and get the people that we want in there. That's why these politicians are never beholden to us, because we don't control, access to capital and access to resources. Once they get our vote, they can just run off and do whatever the fuck they want to do. And because most of us don't freaking pay attention, and we're not like example, the 2A people, you vote against the Second Amendment, they'll have you out of there the next term. Black people got short memories. This is one of the first times where, black people are pushing back, and they're like, no, 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 you're not going to just continue to neglect us with this benign neglect of the Democrat Party, and in every election you tell us democracy is on the line. That's not my fucking problem. You know what I mean? You need to talk to them white folks that make up majority of the country about democracy being on the line. Go talk to them. You know what I mean? Because you're not going to just come through and talk at us and think that you're going to get us to fall in line, try to come through and scare us and shame us and all this other shit. We sick of that shit. At least the young niggas are sick of that. You know, the old black folks, you know, they on that bullshit, going back to whatever it is they got back in the 1960s, not realizing there's a whole 2-3 generations after them that ain't seen anything from the Democratic Party that has benefited them in their individual lives. Meanwhile, they got to sit there and watch the Democrats, hand out goodies and tangibles to every other group. Oh, what you need. Oh, and then when they go and they talk to them like they got some goddamn sense. They talk to them with a level of respect, a level of reverence. But when they talk to us, you niggas, they talk to us like we some slaves on the plantation that they can just yell at and crack the whip at. No. That's the old niggas. That ain't the new niggas. But between Lucas and even Antoine, I saw Antoine on Fox News the other night. And I'm like, nigga, you don't speak for us. They only bring you on Fox News to espouse their fucking talking point because you're pro-Trump and you're anti-Democrat. But you ain't telling the Republicans the real deal. In other words, the only black person I want to speak on black people's behalf is a neutral black person. It's ain't none of y'all motherfuckers doing shit for us. You know what I mean? I don't support them, but I don't support you either. You know what I mean? But it always seems to be that, the black people that they get up there are black people who you got to swing one way or the other. You got to be, some effeminate gay ass black man on MSNBC, right? That espouses the Democrat Party. You the Negro Whisperer, and they pay you as such. Or you got to be, some black conservative that goes on Fox News, and then you act like there's no such thing as racism, and you're colorblind, and you don't know what people are talking about, and you love white Jesus and shit like that. That's what it is. Black people sick of that shit. But I'm making this video because I'm just sitting here watching Lucas's recent, video talking about they interviewed some black women in Philadelphia, and I'm like, you're not going to get intelligent responses from older black women. First off, if they're beyond a certain age, this is the most uninformed population ever. They're just uninformed. They don't know the details of shit. They just kind of go with the tide. Those aren't the people. Again, this is the bullshit of it. No, I've talked about this before. When going back to Malcolm X, bringing up the point about bringing up entertainers, and so it's either bringing up entertainers to talk to black people about politics, or going down and finding the most uneducated people on the topic, and then saying we went down to the grassroots instead of talking to the leaders, right? Notice they know how to talk to the quote unquote leaders, the people that they want to use to steer the black community in a particular direction when they go and they talk to the pastors and the preachers, because they know that they have influence, right? But they're not talking to the Dr. Claude Andersons. They're not talking to Ice Cube with, Contract for Black America. They're not talking to him, right? They don't want to talk to your Dr. Kendrick Clarks, right? They don't want to talk to any black leaders. They don't want to talk to any sort of Martin Luther King type of personality, Malcolm X type of personality, Medgar Evers type of personality, Fannie Lou Hamer type of personality. Okay, they don't want to talk to those people. And this is the problem with us not having a black media and them controlling both, ends of the discussion, as Nellie Fuller pointed out. They want to be able to control the narrative, and they control the narrative by, controlling the initial dialogue and then controlling how that dialogue is responded to by either going out there and just talking to people who are completely uninformed, right? And who sound dumb, right? Which only further reinforces the idea that black people are dumb and therefore you don't need to have any real true discussion about their needs, wants, concerns, or anything else, right? Or they'll go and then, do the classical thing and get the entertainers or get the church pastors or anything. They do not want to talk to people that, stand 10 toes down and say, this is what the fuck we need. We need to have a serious conversation about reparations. We need to seriously have a conversation about a black agenda. We need to seriously have a conversation about police reform. We need to seriously, have a conversation about, economic opportunities specifically for black people, not this rising tides lifts all boats bullshit. Okay, we want real policies specific, for the black community, right? Because when it came to Jim Crow, when it came to discrimination of African Americans, when the discrimination was specific to black people, ain't nobody have a problem with that. But then when you try to correct those discriminatory practices that were specific to black people, and then you try to put something in place that is specifically beneficial to black people, now everybody got a problem. Everybody got an issue now. Fuck out of here. Nah. So, I don't know what the hell Lucas is on. His tone. I had the same problem with Black Authority, quiet as it's kept. You know what I mean? Even Tariq is kind of, simmered down on that. He's just like, I need you to land the plane, and he'll leave it at that. But you don't got to badger, the black people that call in. You know what I mean? Everybody does not have the same capacity. Everybody's not on the same level, and yes, it's a problem. It irritates me too when you get black folks that just, they're like intellectually lazy and they don't take the time to, look at things but all that badgering shit. I'm just like, I'm like, it's just, it gets to a point where it's too much. Don't get me wrong. I'm not completely against it, because sometimes we do got some dumbasses out here, but it's the constant every day. It's, black people are some ignorance. We's ignorance. I'm like, you using the same language that you were using when you were over there on the coon train, when you was over there being a conservative. You using the same language towards black people. And it looks like, Amazing Lucas is a paid shill. All he did was switch sides. That's what it looks like. Because I'm like, there's no reason for you to go hard in the paint for Democrats. I understand that you were on the coon train. I understand that you were in the sunken place, right? And conservatives haven't done anything for black people. Why? Well, I don't understand the argument where people are like, and what are the conservatives doing for black people? Black people haven't even demonstrated that they would vote for Republicans. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't even, what do you want to call it? There's no, we haven't demonstrated any, like, we're not their constituency. So why would they cater to us? That's a dumb question. You have to demonstrate. You have to get in the door first before you can have that conversation. You got to be a substantial voting block before you can have that conversation. And black people aren't organized with that. Black people are too emotional about their politics. You know what I mean? It's not about whether they like you. It's not about whether they're racist or not. It's about, hey, if you want this voting block, we're going to need this. And if you don't give us this, then we're going to, move in the other direction. We're dealing with the people who cater to our needs. We don't have a loyalty to you. We don't give a fuck about you. This is a what do you want to call it? This is an exchange. Okay, this is a business deal. This is not about love. This is not about caring. This is about, I need this and you need our vote. But that vote doesn't become powerful until you get enough of a collective or coalition. This is not about whether the Republicans kiss your ass or not and say, we loves black people. That's not what this is about. Same thing with the Democrats. I don't care, whether the Democrats like black people or not. I care about results. I care about what we get. I don't know why it's okay for everybody else can seek out tangibles. We need this for our community. But when it comes to black people out here, black people vote like, because the Democrats classically, they were the ones that facilitated the whole civil rights bill. Black people act like if they keep Democrats in power, that they can keep racism in America at a mild tone. That's how black people vote. You know what I mean? I know that for certain because that's exactly how my parents vote. They vote like if the Republicans get in, then it's just going to be Turner diaries all over the fucking place. That suddenly the racism will pop up and white people will show their ass. And white people will show their ass. But they don't understand is I'm like, that's already here. Like whether white people show it to you or not, like that's how white people act, think, and behave and function and shit. That's what they're on. They've been on that, whether there's a Republican or Democrat in office or not. You know what I mean? Like that's not that doesn't change the fact that they're still racist. It's not going to change that. They're still there. You know what I mean? Even when the COVID happened and George Floyd, like, even listen to my mother. Oh my God, I just didn't know that this country. Like, what you think? What direction did you think that we were moving in? Like they were fooling themselves. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, I'm sitting there, taking in all this information. White nationalists in the Richard Spencer and Jared Taylor and American Renaissance and Adam Waffen, right? All these white nationalist organizations, Patriot Front, you know what I mean? Thomas Russo, all this shit. I'm sitting there, I'm paying attention to what the fuck is going on in real time on the ground because, there's YouTube and people are putting out content. I listen to all the shit. I'm like, no. It ain't better than the 1960s. It's just more covert. They're just behind the scenes and shit. You know what I mean? But do black people be kidding themselves when it comes to the idea that, when we have a Democrat in the government and they're up there promoting a bunch of gay shit and then, trying to symbolically, throw black people, in the mix to make us feel included and whatnot, that the white people aren't out there just simmering and shit. Like you're fooling yourself. It's the same way that black people, fool themselves when it comes to the Second Amendment. Like white people ain't giving up their shit. Y'all act like, just white people are racist and we need to get rid of AR-15s because they're filled with hate and they could use those AR-15s against us. I'm like, nigga, you better shoot back. Fuck is wrong with you? Black people got this attitude. Well, if we get rid of the guns, they won't have them, and then they won't be able to be racist against us. Dumbass mentality. Dumbass mentality. So again, I understand the frustration when black people are being dumb. I feel that way about the Second Amendment. I've gotten on Professor Black Truth and I've gotten on Black Authority when it comes to that. This whole telling Democrats to take it off the table. Always talking about power tools, but not talking about black people actually, including in the agenda the support of the Second Amendment, because that can be taken away. Just like the civil rights bill, they have to vote on that every couple of years, and it doesn't get voted on unanimously. That shit can be easily taken away. All this stuff can be taken away. So there's certain things that if it's beneficial to you, you do have to support that. And if black people have so much influence in the Democrat Party, then why don't you tell the Democrats to take gun control off the table? That's my litmus test. If black people can't get the Democrats to take gun control off the table, you have no power. You really have no power. You know what I mean? Because black people should be the number one advocates of the Second Amendment. When it comes to, okay, if America is so racist, why are you trying to rush to be defenseless? I don't get that. Especially when it comes to the women, because the women be the main ones screaming racism all the time. Like this symbolic, like this symbology of racism. Like they have a problem with the fact that they can feel it in the air. I can feel it in the air. Right? They got a problem with that. Beanie Siegel style. Right? And I'm like, that's going to be there. I don't care about them being racist. They're going to be racist. That's what type time they on. But the type time I'm on is like my man, the brother in the IHOP, when them 3 white supremacists tried to run up on his ass and he put fucking 3 rounds in the motherfucker and he died. You know what I mean? That's what type time I'm on. I'm on Django type time. Y'all on symbolism type time. Like as though if you get a Democrat in that goes up there and talks, some inclusive, racial and gender shit, that somehow that means that all of the evil spirits of white nationalism have suddenly disappeared. Like, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. Black people have to learn to politically mature. The world is a dangerous and it's an ugly place. And, again, this is one of the other issues I have with religion, because y'all be living in la la land. Y'all don't pay attention to the situation on the ground. Y'all are so goddamn magical with what you think, oh, in the light of Christ and everything. The white nationalists are Christians. The same people who hate you are Christians. They worship the same fucking God that you, oh, no, they don't. Just silly shit. Y'all are some fools. So, like I said, there's plenty of criticisms to go around when it comes to black people. But, when the only thing you do, the only thing, you do is just, shit on them. It's like, I don't know. I just don't think it's a good look. It brings up a lot of questions, about what you're really on. And what else was I going to say? There was something else I was going to say about the whole situation. Yeah, I don't know if Lucas is just contrarian to be contrarian. Because, controversy sells. If you say the opposite of what most people are going to be on, somehow that sells. But I'm like, I don't know where anybody's going to follow Lucas. You haven't told us. I'm saying, fuck it, let's go with that. Let's go with the idea that Lucas, he's mad because black people are not supporting Kamala Harris. I'm like, okay, Lucas, what is the amazing Lucas agenda? What policies, not that the Democrats are currently supporting, but what policies do you think that the Democrats are going to push forward for black people? Because it hasn't been demonstrated. I mean, black people are going off of the track record of 8 years of Obama and then 4 years of Joe Biden, and nothing has gotten done. And then what you're trying to tell black people is another 4 more years. That will do what for black people precisely? Let us know. Let us know, amazing Lucas. Tell us, amazing Lucas. Tell us what policies. Get into the details. Not this vague ass shit like you did with my response, or your response to my, me criticizing you about the whole, Ann Coulter situation. You know what I mean? Again, Ann Coulter, I give Ann Coulter props because she's the only person that goes up there and says this shit. And I saw where she put out some tweet or some statement about, they want reparations or whatnot. I saw that. But still, I'm like, she put out there, she's playing the game. She got to, get her bread just like you trying to get your bread. The white people, they don't particularly care for that. And what really, see, Ann Coulter will say it, but I think she had to back off of it a little bit because, black people started, showcasing that, including myself. We started playing that shit. We started shit, and then her overlords are going to look at her like, man, whose team are you really on, Ann? And Ann's like, okay, maybe I got to back it up a little bit. But like I said, I definitely think that she's one of the people that are like, look, we need to nip this shit in the bud. We need to get ahead of it, because if we don't, you got all these other groups that got here yesterday. Some dude from Bangladesh who's talking about, I want my reparations too. We owe black people, we arguably owe Native Americans. Many of that has already been set aside. The Native Americans just won't accept it because they want their land back, right? But we don't owe anybody else. We don't owe the LGBT community. We don't owe the homeless. We don't owe, Syrian refugees. We don't owe the dude from Bangladesh. Okay, we don't owe, an Afghani who got here yesterday. We don't owe them. We owe African Americans. Let's leave it at that. Because otherwise we're going to run into this shit that the left is trying to do, where they're trying to lifting tides rises all boats type of bullshit. Because at the end of the day, it's still about maintaining the system of white supremacy and maintaining the status quo. which is to make sure that black people don't have any sort of edge, even though in reality, black people don't have an edge. And what it's doing is correcting the negative shit that was done to black people with redlining, blockbusting, Jim Crow, eminent domain, urban renewal, convict leasing, debt peonage, COINTELPRO, purging of black community, assassination of black leaders, denial of Social Security for the first 20 years, denial of access to the Homestead Act, right? All of these things, right? That's what it's designed to correct if we're, talking about reparations. It's to make black people have parity with white America. But the way that the Democrats want to paint it, and because they don't really want to move forward with it because they see it as not an electable policy, right? They want to make it, oh, well, this is for everybody and it's not race exclusive and it's not to, so even if they did that, even if they just were like, here's money for everybody, right? I know people are going to have their inflation argument, but that would maintain the status quo. You know what I mean? It doesn't even make sense. Like, oh, we're going to give black people reparations. We're going to give this upper middle class white family reparations too. Like, it just makes no sense. Makes no sense. Hell, many of the slave owners got reparations for the end of slavery. The slaves themselves didn't get reparations, but the slave owners got reparations for, lost property, right? They got compensated for that shit. Because remember, much of the money that was in the slave trade, they're in financial institutions. Slaves were used as financial vehicles. They were used in inheritance, capital gains, insurance policies. That wealth is sitting right there in, Goldman Sachs and Merrill Lynch and Chase Bank. That's where much of the reparations are. And Black Authority, I think, is it Black Authority or Professor Black Truth? I think it's Professor Black Truth, has a whole series on, the financial institutions and their involvement in the slave trade. But again, I don't even have to go back to slavery. I can start right with the 20th century. And Jim Crow and freaking, redlining in and of itself has probably been the greatest, wealth, divergent policy or what do you want to call it? Dynamic of the system that has created wealth inequality between black people and white people in America. Oh, you can't move here. Therefore, you can't purchase this house. Therefore, you can't reap the benefits of all the equity and ridiculous home prices that many white people are currently benefiting from. Which again, that's a bubble that has to burst. It's unsustainable. White people can't even sustain their own freaking population with a system like that. It's like I call it like a vampire capitalism. And I'm gonna coin that phrase. Vampire capitalism. Vampire capitalism is a situation where the system is set up where it only benefits the old people. Because just imagine it, like vampires don't die unless they step into the sunlight or get a stake through the heart, right? Right. So imagine a world where old people never die. Right? They never die. So basically the first human beings would be the wealthiest human beings and then there would be a tiered system below that. And if you were the last to be born, you're just poor and doomed to be poor because the system benefits the old people. So this is why, like, seriously speaking, if you want to talk about God, this is why people do need to die, because if they don't die, then nothing changes. Because old people will set up, since they were the first ones here. You know what I mean? They're the first ones here. So they just accrue massive amounts of wealth and then just hold on to it. And then the young people, where white society is at now, the younger generation can't even afford to procreate. You call that white supremacy? I don't. I mean, it's actually quite comical and entertaining to sit there and watch white people trip over themselves, trip over their own fucking system. They cannibalize their own kids. It's hilarious to watch. Yes, 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 yes. We have created and established the system of white supremacy, but the system of white supremacy isn't even sustainable. Brilliant, brilliant. But yes, we are the superior race. Really? Doesn't look that way. Creating some so goddamn greedy they forsake their own offspring. I mean, it's entertaining as fuck to watch. But that's just me. But anyway, I'll end this video. I'll wrap it up. I'll land my plane, as Tariq Nasheed would say. So that's all I got to say. That's my video, SWP. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.